Comics League Movie Night, the official movie night stream. I have to get my mic back in position. The official Comics League Movie Night stream, where we discuss anything relating to comic book movies or geek movies in general. So today we are discussing Batman Bad Blood. In other words, the sort of establishment and solidification of the Bat family in the DC animated movie universe. So let's get right to it. So the others will be joining us momentarily. And what's up? Saw Spyro's True 6 out of 10. Oh, really, Brown? I saw it too. I thought it was actually pretty good. Why'd you give it a 6 out of 10? But anyway, so with Batman Bad Blood, so for the longest time, like, there wasn't really the Bat family that we know them per se in the DCAMU. And the thing is, this universe was set up so well to have the Bat family like established. And the thing, and it's like this movie introduces like Batwing. I believe Lucius Fox was introduced in this movie. I could be wrong on that. But then we also have Batwoman, Kate Kane, who they basically play off. I'm not sure if they mentioned if she's the cousin of Batman or if she's just like, because it seems more like she was more Dick Grayson's age and they know each other as opposed to Batman and Batwoman. Because those that don't know, Batwoman is actually Batman's cousin, and I didn't like the animation style. I had a lot to say on that. Oh, really? Okay, that's not for everyone. So to get to it, let's briefly go over the plot real quick. So the plot is basically, this is taking place 6 months after Batman versus Robin. In other words, the intro of the Court of Owls. And so basically, Batwoman shows up and she's fighting a bunch of Z-list villains. Yeah, Bad Blood is a really cool movie. Yeah, I really dig it, like a lot. And what's cool, so Batwoman is doing her Bat thing. She's fighting a bunch of Z-list villains like Tusk, Electrocutioner, Killer Moth, and others. So then Batman shows up, and then we have a really cool team up between Batwoman and Batman. But then the Heretic shows up. Now, who's the Heretic? That'll be revealed later. And Batwoman basically screws up and almost falls. Batman has to catch her and swing her out of the building, and then the building explodes, and ostensibly, Batman is killed. Now, this movie, moving forward, is basically adapting a good portion of the Grant Morrison Batman run, where essentially Bruce Wayne died at the end of Final Crisis, and Dick Grayson took over as Batman, as he does in this movie. He takes over and uses an older Batsuit. It's kind of funny hearing Dick trying to impersonate the Bat voice, but it's very obvious. But and then he takes Damian as his Robin. At that point, we get the terrific interaction between Grayson Batman and Damian Robin, and it's just like in the comics in that it's such a great interaction having those two, because like Damian can't stand Nightwing, and to a certain degree, Nightwing can't stand Damian. But it's such a great dynamic between the two. So anyway, this is going to be in the DCU. Yes, exactly. I'm not sure if they're going to do Bad Blood or if they're going to do Dick Grayson Batman, but I do know that Damian Wayne is going to be the Robin in that universe, which, okay, they better use an older Batman, because if they use a younger Batman, it's going to be really hard to justify, unless they play around with the order of Robins. It's going to be very hard for them to justify how a young Batman has as Damian, because Damian's the most recent Robin out of three others. Three others? Yeah, about three others. And so you would have to have Nightwing established, which if Batman's young, that's going to be an issue. And this was the same issue for the New 52 when they restarted the Batman line, because it's like, so Batman's been around for 5 years and he's had like not a lot of Robins. Did you see the Superman casting? Fode guy. It's not a confirmed casting, but what's interesting about the Superman castings, they're all people that look exactly like a younger version of Henry Cavill. Further adding to my theory that this is just that Cavill will be back as Superman after Legacy, maybe, and they're just doing this to retcon Man of Steel out. That's 100% what I think it is. But anyway, going back to this, so we have Batman. Grayson realizes that the city still needs a Batman to fight street thugs, which really, really, really plays into Nightwing's character really well because, okay, so for the longest time, Nightwing did not want to be Batman, even though you could say Batman was always preparing Nightwing to take over. So he's never wanted to be Batman because he became Nightwing to get out of Batman's shadow. But what this shows is that Nightwing will think of the greater good over himself, which really adds to his character. And it indicates that if the ship goes down, if he knows that Gotham needs a Batman and Bruce is indisposed, he will do it. Which, again, it makes Nightwing look like all the more a better character, which, let's be honest, Nightwing's already a great character. So then anyway, at the Himalayas, Damian is like training. He went there at the end of Batman versus Robin, and he sees that like Batman's missing. So he shows back up, and this is when Nightwing Batman, I'm going to call him that, and Damian Robin team up, and they're going to try and solve what happened to Batman. And then at this point, also, we get the Langstrom show up, Kirk Langstrom, otherwise known as Man-Bat. He doesn't become Man-Bat, but he's hired by what would essentially add up to be the League of Assassins to create a Man-Bat formula so they could have Man-Bat ninjas. I kid you not, Man-Bat ninjas. And then, so they get kidnapped, and obviously, and then obviously the dynamic duo intervene. Then we discover Batman wasn't dead. He was just kidnapped by the League of Assassins, and they're trying to like brainwash him into like becoming their agent, into becoming their general. Man-Bat versus Morbius. Well, I gotta say it's Morbin time in that case. I need to get a job for that. But in terms of Man-Bat versus Morbius, I gotta give it to Morbius because here's the thing. Man-Bat just flies. He doesn't really do a lot. He can fly and grab people with his clawed feet. Morbius can fly. He has like all these other powers that significantly make him more powerful. As much as I hate to admit that in this case, a Marvel character is more powerful than a DC character, I gotta give it to Morbius. Then going back to the movie, then we get the introduction of Lucius Fox and his son Luke Fox. All right, so they're kidnapped by the Heretic, and by Daniel says, I like this version of Batwoman very much better than CW's Batwoman as a whole. Yeah, what's kind of funny is I even like her more in the comics better. What's interesting is you notice that any version but the CW is the better version of any character, including the Flash. Because here's the thing, people are like, oh, that was the most accurate depiction of Barry Allen ever. No, it wasn't. That was the most accurate portrayal of Wally West Flash. Because when you think about it, most versions of the Flash in other media, they're just being Wally West, but putting a Barry Allen like skin on it because Wally's the more popular version of the Flash, as we saw in the Justice League version. And they were only doing Arrow as Batman because of the Bat embargo, and they couldn't do Batman, as JJheat would say if you were here. And then, so at this point, we see that, all right, so Luke and Lucius are like coerced into opening the vault that has like a device that the League needs. And then Lucius is stabbed and put in the hospital. Then Luke goes into the Applied Sciences Division of Wayne Enterprises. And in the most Iron Man ripped off part of this entire movie, he has an Iron Man suit up sequence. I kid you not. It looks exactly like Iron Man. To give you an idea what happens, he steps into this little circle, like armoring thing. He steps in, it does his legs first. He puts his hands out. It just puts the armor on him. When I was watching this for this review, I was like, oh yeah, someone was inspired by Iron Man at this point, because this is scary, like ripped off. So then the Bat family, I'm going to start calling them, discover that there's this monastery where apparently that's where like Langstrom was taken. And so they like at the same time, by the way, Robin was also taken. We discover that Heretic is actually a clone of Damien. In other words, the Talia clone Damien. And here's the thing, even incoming movie, yeah. Here's the problem with, here's my one gripe with this movie. It's the jarring portrayal of Talia from the last time we saw her to this time. Because here's the problem with this. She goes from, I want him to be with you, Bruce, because he needs his father. You'll be a good influence on him. To, you're dead to me, son. We're going to kill you. And I'm like, the heck is going on here? Daniel says, but I'm worrying why even Batwoman exists when DC already has a Batgirl. I guess that's a good question. I guess that's like I guess like that's so they can have an older version of Batgirl, kind of, because Batgirl's relatively stuck in like the young girl like phase. That's another reason why I think Barbara works better as Oracle, because it's less like keeps her into that like age gap. I've long said that they should have kept Barbara as Oracle, even if they fix her spine, and then have Stephanie or Cassandra, probably Cassandra, because Stephanie already has her role as a spoiler alert, and that way you also give people in wheelchairs their own heroes, but that's besides the point. So then, this is when the Bat family discovers that Bruce is alive, obviously, and they save him. And then it turns out, so Bruce is being very aggressive towards the Bat family. And yes, Brown to show you, she makes no sense here. It'd be one thing if they gave us a short or like a movie showing this heel turn, or maybe she was in the Lazarus pit. And here's the thing, though. I heard someone give the excuse that Talia is different because in the previous movie, she went in the Lazarus pit. Which, okay, that's all well and good, but even in that movie, at the end of it, she doesn't look, and she doesn't sound crazy at all. She's like, Bruce, take our son and raise him. He will be a good influence on him. She is the loving mother that she should be. Then in this movie, she's straight up a villain. She's straight up like, I'm gonna kill Batman, kill the entire family, kill the city, and kill my son. That's it. And I'm like, all right, first off, but I will say fantastic voice acting by Morena Baccarin, otherwise known as like Vanessa from Deadpool and such. But still, I'm like, okay, guys, this is just about the most jarring change from one movie to another that you could have done for this character. And it's the most annoying thing in the world because, again, Talia is one of my favorite characters. But to see her not portrayed properly, and this is, let me put it this way, not really that she wasn't portrayed properly. It's just that they gave no, like, transition. Again, it'd be one thing if they gave us, like, a small short or, like, another movie that shows her going crazy. But no. And this is a symptom of the larger problem of the DCAMU. They make all these changes off screen without telling anyone, like when they broke up Superman and Wonder Woman for no reason. Just so they can push Lois Lane, but that's besides the point. We'll talk about that when we get to the death of Superman. But my point is with that one and this, they left too much to you're just going to have to assume it happened off panel. And I'm like, that is really terrible storytelling. I'm sorry. If you don't reference it at all or put a comic where that happens or something and you expect the audience to all of a sudden follow you this way, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Storytelling doesn't work like that. You have to actually hold the hand of the audience in this case. And what's up, Tevia? We're talking about a movie with Damian Wayne in it, so it's a good thing you're here. Daniel says Talia becoming evil is some disappointing. Like the DCAU broke the relationship between Superman and Wonder Woman from a movie with almost to another with no explanation. I know, right? It literally was like they're like, well, we had a relationship, but it didn't last. And I'm like, where's that movie? Can you show me, at least show me them breaking up instead of just telling, show, don't tell. That is the chief issue here. That is my main issue with this entire universe. They change too much between movies and then expect you to follow. And then just say, oh yeah, that happened. And I'm like, where did this happen? you can't do that in the comics either. You can't have a thing where like issue to issue a character heel turns. It's not like Talia started to like change. It'd be one thing if throughout this movie you showed her descending into the darkness and then at the end she was the villain. No, she straight up, as soon as she sees Damien, she's like, oh, you're not useful to me anymore. I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, first off, that is not Talia. Because if there's one thing Talia loves, it's number one, Batman. Number two, her son. There is no, this was my problem with the third Nolan movie, because she wants to murder Batman because he killed her father. No, they also killed Heretic. Oh yeah, she kills Heretic. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Why'd you clone him? Again, the Talia portions of this movie are egregious. Like, really egregious, which was so disappointing. I know, dude, it was disappointing. It was the most egregious thing I have ever seen in this. It was the most like, trust me, bro, it happened moment. And it's really stupid. But anyway, but Tevi, I want to ask you, what do you think of the Dick Grayson Batman and Damian Wayne Robin portrayals in this movie? I'd be very interested in what you have to say about that. But anyway, so we discover that Batman was actually being mind controlled by the League of Assassins. Because if you notice, Batman even has like a sort of character heel turn where like he's like snapping at the Batfamily and only wants to do everything himself. Which I'm like, that could be Batman. But still, in this movie, they explained that it was mind control. So they explained that character change. They could have also done that. Like somehow she was being mind controlled by like someone. Some dark side, I don't care. Just give me some explanation for this heel turn. But anyway, back to the movie. So they discover that Batman is being mind controlled and that like they're trying to, hey, what's up, Max? How you doing, brother? So to add insult to injury, again, in this entire movie, again, she basically at the end of the movie, after the final battle when Batman snaps out his mind control, Talia even more like hammers in that she doesn't like Damon. And I'm like, what? Tevia says, like, what's the point of introducing Heretic and not having him do his thing like in Batman Incorporated? Yeah, I know. Or I think Heretic was in Batman and Son. Or he might have also been in Batman Incorporated. But the point is, I like this movie, don't get me wrong, but there's so much waste in this movie. So much freaking waste. And by waste, I mean they had so much great stuff in here. They had the Batfamily. They had Talia and Bruce again. But they dropped the ball on so much stuff. Heading into it, we do get a nice like fight between Batman and Nightwing, and we see like Batman not holding back, and then Nightwing, in fact, snapping Batman out of his mind control. And it was actually really cool seeing the Batfamily have to talk down Batman. So moving on, then the movie ends with Talia dying, and I'm like, what the heck is going by dying? I mean, all right, so. And Mess Meme says Tim and Jason are more important than Kate and Bowing. I don't understand why I didn't use them in this movie. Well, first off, Miss Meme, and thank you for commenting. I do agree with you. This is such a missed opportunity for them to bring in Red Hood. Like, really missed opportunity, particularly in Hush, where it actually happened too. I'm like, again, why are Tim Drake... I get that. See, the thing is, Miss Meme, is that they already had Damian in this universe, and they didn't want to have two Robins or like Red Robin or anything like that. And that's just because Tim Drake has been very redundant in the comics. He's not like this. He doesn't. I mean, besides being the detective of the family, there's not that much that separates him from the other members of the Bat family. So that's why I think they didn't use Tim in this, because there's no like unique spot for him. Jason, they have no excuse for not using, because there is multiple movies where they could have introduced Jason. Hell, they could have just used Jason as a Talon. Here's a good idea. Talon should have been Jason. And by Talon, I mean the character Talon in the Batman versus Robin / Court of Owls movie. That one dude that was trying to turn Damian away from Batman, that should have been Jason Todd. That would have been so cool. He would have said, hey, Batman abandoned me. He really doesn't care about you. And there you go. That's the way you would have introduced him. But no, again, and this goes back. They had all these opportunities here, and they didn't do it. Because I'm like, we know that I believe they show the Jason Todd suit in the Batcave when they're going through all the bat suits. And I'm like, you have it there. It's not like it's not there. But the point is, they kill Talia with her ship like exploding. I forget exactly what happened. And I'm like, okay, that is an abrupt killing of that character. It's just, I just wish anyone that's a Talia fan of this movie has to really like. Oh, they also explode Mad Hatter's head. It was Alfred who did it, but still, I'm like, the Bat family does kill. So there you go. Yeah, they also kill off the other villains like Mad Hatter, whose head exploded. That was gruesome, but also really cool. So that was one of the cool parts of this movie. Then we're seeing like essentially the aftermath. They're like, and we see like Batman and Damian like reminiscing about Talia because again, Talia was Damian's mom, so he's feeling pretty upset about the fact that she's dead. And Batman's comforting him. Then we get this awesome shot, this awesome like montage of the Bat family gearing up. Then they're on this like this gargoyle, and then we see like I think it was like the Penguins crew is being chased by cops, and they all like load up and just fly through the city. It was so cool. So, what is the name of the clone of Damian that was raised by Deathstroke in the comics? There was a clone raised by Deathstroke. I know that the clone was named I guess call sign Heretic. I just didn't know he was raised by Deathstroke. Indeed, that was pretty cool and very Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I know. But that's what I love about these movies, though. They're very gruesome. It's like if you watch Apocalypse War, yeah, that movie does not hold back anything. Like, anything. But it's really, really. Oh, his name is Respawn. Okay, well that's interesting. Talia al Ghul is my second favorite love interest for Batman. Third is Silver St. Cloud, but never Wonder Woman. I appreciate that, Daniel. And you know what? Because you said that, I'm going to give you this. Amazing. And then he died in Shadow War. Okay, that makes sense. But yes, Daniel, thank you. I appreciate this. Nice to have some people on my side with that. But if you see with my Superman and Wonder Woman action figures, I posed them up a little differently this time. But in terms of so that's the basic plot of Bad Blood. And this movie's still fun. Like even the voice cast, because Kate Kane is played by Yvonne Strahovski. You would know her as Miranda from Mass Effect 2 and 3, and like Sarah from Chuck. And there's you see Spider-Verse yet? Of course I did, and I loved it. That was a fantastic movie. I really dug it. And fun fact: Travis Willingham plays Heretic. Travis Willingham is like one of the most prolific voice actors I think we have around. And he's like one of the coolest dudes. But yeah, I really dug. It really was solid. Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. I loved Across the Spider-Verse. Oh yeah, as soon as I saw like Mayday Tevia, I was like, I actually said out loud, and my friend Lad can tell you this. Tevye is gonna love this, but in a good way, dude. Didn't top the first one, but a great flick. To me, it did top the first one a little bit because I like the way it dealt with the multiverse a little clearer, I think, and less like convoluted as a lot of movies are doing it. And then yeah, shame they wasted Heretic in this movie. But again, oh, and also this movie establishes Batgirl. And the thing about this is that they barely use Batgirl in this universe also, because the next time we see her is in Hush for like a second. She saves Batman from like getting abducted by criminals or something like that. And then we see her in Apocalypse War where she dies. And I'm like, you mean we could have had more with Batgirl? They should have done a Batgirl movie. What they could have done is done The Killing Joke, but better. In other words, not what Bruce Timm did with The Killing Joke. So that's the way I think they could have salvaged this really well. Is done like an Oracle movie. Which Batgirl? Which Batgirl when anyone was in Hush before she got killed? Yeah, I know exactly. I'm like, see, here's the thing: Batgirl's not a one-off character that you introduce and then throw away. No, she is arguably in the top, like I would say, 6 or so of Bat family characters. You do not get rid of Batgirl that much. She's not a throwaway character, particularly when you have Nightwing right there. But that's besides the point. He's with Starfire for some reason in this universe, but that's besides the point. But Batman the Long Halloween is my favorite Batman anime movie ever. Yeah, that was pretty solid. I will say I dug Jensen Ackles as Batman. I think he has a solid Batman voice. Why don't they do post-crisis animated movies from DC Comics? There's so many cool stories. I know, dude. There is literally they could make an entire movie series on Jeff Johns' Green Lantern alone. That could be DC's Star Wars movies. Like, there is so much material in those omnibuy that they could milk for all it's worth. Tevia said they really should have done Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, similar to that Young Justice did with her in that series. Yeah, and by the way, I want to highlight this real quick. What Young Justice did with Oracle is actually really cool. They made it so Cassandra Cain was going to kill the Joker, but Batgirl like jumped in the way, and that's how she got paralyzed because Batgirl was mid-swing with Cain was mid-swing with the sword when Batgirl jumped in front, and then the sword like severed her spine, and that's how she got paralyzed. That's actually a really cool way to do the Killing Joke story without doing the Killing Joke story. So there you go. But going back to this, yeah, it's like you have so many Batman stories, you have so many Green Lantern, so many Superman stories. Like you could have done For Tomorrow, you could have done All-Star. Well, they did do All-Star. They did do Batman and Superman, Supergirl. The point is, there is such a breadth of content that they could adapt. And Terry says, heck, adapt Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis, which I think would be awesome. Well, there would be an adaptation of Final Crisis if they would let Zack Snyder come back and do his movies. I'm just saying, if you look at the plot of that, it's Final Crisis. But less convoluted, which I didn't think that was possible. But that's besides the point. But that's a topic for another stream. Now, I want to answer like your guys' questions on this. Any questions about this movie or like DC in general? You can go ahead and drop in the comments, and I'll continue talking. Yeah, I will say, going back to Daniel, yeah, I really dig Jensen Ackles as Batman because he has that gruff voice that you want in a Batman, and he even played a fantastic Jason Todd in the Under the Red Hood movie. Because what you need to play a good Batman, and Conroy actually started this, you have to have a divide between the Batman and the Bruce Wayne personality. I call them two different personalities because they're wholly different people. It's like even that's why a lot of the times the actors will do a different voice for Batman as opposed to Bruce Wayne. And I love the way Jansen does this because his Batman is super gravelly and gruff, but his Bruce Wayne is a little less of that. And then Conroy did that. Bale kind of did that. Actually, he did because he had the throat cancer voice. Batfleck didn't really have to do that because he had a voice changer, which I think was the best idea ever to give Batman a voice changer. I'm really surprised no other director did that. It literally makes no sense. And particularly when you have like guys like Christopher Nolan. So heck, I technically got my Super Sons movie and Superman Rebirth animated movie combined. Yeah, actually, to talk about that, that was actually a really good way to cover both those things because it did cover both stories. Or like, while it wasn't a direct adaptation of either of those runs, they got the basic like idea of the story. They got the heart of Super Sons and the Tomasi and I forget who the artist was, but the Tomasi and Gleason and Patrick Gleason Superman run really well. They got the heart of it. So it was still an animated adaptation of that. But again, another Rebirth story that I think they could do really well is the Green Lantern series with Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, because then you get your diversity characters, but they're great characters too. And you get to highlight characters that don't necessarily get the limelight. And you get to tell, again, Green Lantern. Because I think that if you're going to do it for animation, that's best for Green Lantern for right now. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what the DCU does with Green Lanterns. Because remember, he's in Chapter 1. So I think that for right now, Green Lantern works better in animation because you can make the constructs look better. So Tevye also asked questions. Speaking of DC animated movies, that reminds me. I am wondering, why haven't we gotten a Blackest Night animated movie? Dude, literally. I'm saying right there, you could adapt that entire run, that entire Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, and guess what? You would literally have their Star Wars, and you can have an animated universe that builds up. Which, by the way, Tevye, I am convinced that what they are doing with the long threat, if it started off in Green Lantern, there are a couple of threats because James Gunn did confirm that in the Green Lantern series, that's when we're going to start hinting about what the larger threat of the 10 years is. I have a theory that it's Necron of the Black Lanterns, because there are a few threats that you can introduce in Green Lantern that would make sense to introduce in Green Lantern. Because I don't think they're going to do Darkseid again, because the Snyderverse already did that. They would need a lot of setup to do the Anti-Monitor. I'd say more than 10 years. Maybe that's like a chapter 2 like villain, or chapter 3. I mean, they could do that at the end of the 10 years, but I don't think a Anti-Monitor would be a good idea. And Mongol should be teased in a Superman movie. So there's very few things that they could really tease in a Green Lantern series. How about a DC occult movie? That would be honestly good, directed by Guillermo del Toro. I could see that. Tevye says, technically, we did get Jessica Cruz in an animated movie, which was really great, plus a continuation. Yes, but I'm talking about straight up just her and Baz, because that was really a Justice League movie. It wasn't really a movie focusing on Cruz. She had some fantastic moments in that movie, but it wasn't really her thing. Mongol's a great choice. I know, 100% he's a great choice for the 10-year threat. I just think that if the threat is being introduced in a Green Lantern movie, personally, I would do Necron, because I think he's the most organic to introduce in a Green Lantern thing. I mean, it depends on how they set up the Green Lantern, how Green Lantern sets up the threat. Please make a discussion about the Green Lantern CG anime series. I will, because that animated series is awesome. It's pretty much DC Star Wars: The Clone Wars. GLTs could be endless. I'm still betting New Gods. My money is on their investigation of Earth will be the death of a new god. You know, if they do a straight up adaptation of Final Crisis, but stretch it among these movies, they could do that. And New Gods, see, here's the thing, though. Here's why I doubt that, Legion. Because if they do New Gods, that's a little too close to the Snyderverse and what was done before, and what James Gunn has indicated. Because here's the thing: if you're going to reboot it, why use the same villain from the previous universe? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me if they're rebooting, why they would use the exact same villains from the previous arc. Necron is too pigeonhole. Okay, yeah, and they could kind of use that, but here's the thing also. Here's why I'm also saying could be Necron. Because they're also it'd be one thing if it's like a Green Lantern taking place entirely in space, but it's also taking place here, because they could have Green Lanterns encounter Black Hand, encounter Atrocitus, and fight him, and then he gives the thing of Blackest Night. There's still some way of doing it. I'm still sad that we didn't get a season 2 of Green Lantern animated series, because the series was really awesome. Yes, and it did the Lantern mythos justice. Yes, my one issue with that show, Tevye, is that they changed the Red Lantern oath, so it's less brutal. That's my one problem with it. And they have canceled New Gods countless times in the past. All roads lead to Darkseid, period. Darkseid is. I agree with you. I would love to see a Justice League versus Darkseid movie. And I mean, if they want to restore the Snyderverse too and do that as an Elseworld story, they could also do that. But that's besides the point. We could set up the Sinestro Corps war. That is true. The Yellow Lanterns invading, because every movie will be really cool what they could do for the 10 years. At the end of every movie, the villain's in a jail cell. All of a sudden, the Sinestro Corps ring shows up and goes, "You have the ability to overcome great fear. Welcome to the Sinestro Corps." And the last movie, the Endgame style movie, is the Justice League and the Heroes of Earth versus the Sinestro Corps versions of all their villains from the previous movies. That would be a great way to bring everything #full circle. And yes, I had to. I don't need Darkseid in the first chapter, but they better start seeding him from the jump. Yeah, I know. What I mean by if they're going to set him up now, they have to really set him up really well. Mark Strong was the perfect casting for Sinestro. Oh, I agree. I'm still of the opinion that that Green Lantern movie is not as bad as people think it is. It's just some of the CGI doesn't look as good as it could have. And it should have been a Green Lantern movie taking place only in space, because that's where Green Lantern really shines, because he's a space cop. And like I've said many times in the stream, is DC's version of Star Wars. And you have to like lean into that in order to do it justice. So they really didn't do that, because half the Anti-Monitor versus Darkseid. Dude, if they did a live action Justice League Darkseid war, I would pay multiple times to watch that. That would be awesome. The universe would probably break, but still, that would be good for like a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, like a final movie, and they bring back the Snyder cast and the Gunn cast, and everyone has to, all the versions of the Justice League have to team up and choose which side to fight on, because Anti-Monitor versus Darkseid, either way, is not a good alternative. So they have to decide, do we just let one kill each other and then we intervene, or what do we do? The Green Lantern movie is worse than people remember, LOL. I love that movie, but I'm an easy DC sell. The movie is a sad reputation of the G. Yeah, all the time. What I'm saying, the problem with the Green Lantern movie is that too much of it took place on Earth, where it should have taken place only in space. That's my gripe with it. But I'm saying the plot itself and like their portrayal of Hal Jordan and all that stuff was actually not that bad. And the Guardians were legit. The Guardians are essentially that idiotic. I'm sorry, that's just the way the Guardians are. But again, yeah, all the time in space was fantastic. I have no complaints over the times in space. And I mean, again, I'm just trying to think of again, because again, if Green Lantern is going to set it up, what they could do, they could essentially have like a ship crash and the Green Lantern show on Earth, and then someone saying Mongols coming or something like that. Tevia says, but didn't Darkseid War do the death of New 52 Superman? We need to set up Grail. Yeah, they could, and they're not going to kill. I don't think they're going to do the merging of Superman. Because again, they're doing a younger Superman in this movie, like a significantly younger Superman. Yeah, they can't. That was the other thing. They ruined Parallax, because that could have been like the end of a Green Lantern trilogy with Hal destroying the Lantern Corps. But going back to this, yes, they can 100% set up Grail if they did the Darkseid War, or if they just kept the only component of the Darkseid War they use is the Darkseid versus Anti-Monitor. They don't even use Grail. There's how about Volthoom as the villain? That would be cool. The thing is, Volthoom is I mean, they could use Volthoom, I guess. The problem with using Volthoom is that he is really niche. The problem with the Green Lantern live action movie is its pace, the narrative, not the story. The story is pretty much a Green Lantern lore story. Yeah, I know. There are certain issues. Those are all valid issues with the Green Lantern movie, but it's like, that's really. But I'm just saying the other parts of it are actually pretty dope. That's just my opinion. If you guys have have a different opinion, but I will agree with Legion. Mark Strong was a perfect casting of Sinestro, and I hope that if we get a Sinestro in the DCU, which we probably will, because we are getting a Green Lantern project, there was no reason why they can't use Mark Strong as Sinestro. Volthoom is super complex and requires so much lore to set him up. Yeah, and I mean, the fastest way that they could do it is bring in the Crime Syndicate, because remember that's the Ring of Volthoom that Power Ring is using. But again, that requires you essentially would have to set up a Trinity War movie, or like a Crisis on Two Earths style movie where you have the Crime Syndicate. And again, to use all these niche villains, you still require setup. The one that honestly requires the least amount of setup, or the easiest amount of setup, is probably I would have to say Necrom, or like a Yellow Lantern ring, because you can just have like Sinestro exists or something like that. That's why Lantern is a series. Yeah, they could do that. It depends on how they pace that series in. Well, I mean, when it comes out. Oh yeah, good point. Especially with the Crime Syndicate. Yeah, exactly. It requires a significant amount of setup. But Another series that I'm actually interested in watching when when it comes on DCU is the Paradise Lost, because I'm wondering, because they're marketing it as Game of Thrones, but with the Amazons. But what story are they going to tell really in that? Because here's the thing: what a lot of Wonder Woman fans aren't like realizing. I get there are a lot of people saying they should put this character, this character, and this character. But the thing about it, Wonder Woman, Hippolyta, maybe Artemis, and Nubia are like the only Amazons per se that people really know or like have some familiarity with, and it's very niche to all of a sudden just bring in like all these other Amazons suddenly. And then Tevye says they could maybe do a Relic, but make him a better villain, way more than his new 52 debut, which failed badly. Who's Relic? And that should give you the answer for that. Don't the Crime Syndicate have their own origin story first before their appearance in DCU? They don't necessarily need that, because what you could do, even what they did in the Crisis on Two Earths movie, the animated movie, is they just make it obvious that they're the evil versions of the Justice League, and you're good. And you can have like through dialogue, like explaining, okay, Owlman, no, I'm actually Thomas Wayne Jr. and I killed my parents to get their inheritance and such. But you don't need like movies of setup for that. In fact, you could just make them the villain of a Justice League movie and be done with it. Relic was from the new 52 Green Lantern series. It was just confusing and not a great movie. Yeah. I didn't read a lot of the new 52 Green Lantern series, except for the stuff written by Jeff Johns, because in the third omnibus, they go straight into the new 52, which is kind of jarring. And they expect you to having read all this stuff. And I'm like, but we rebooted with Flashpoint. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. It's really odd. That was the chief issue with the new 52 Green Lantern and Batman, is that they rebooted. Not really. And what I mean by not really is that they rebooted. He got a new costume. He got a new, he's sort of younger, but you still need the continuity. You weren't missing much with Relic from the new 52. I know I wasn't. It was just like, the best thing the new 52 did is give us Jessica Cruz as a Green Lantern. I will stand on that hill. That if you could say one good thing about the new 52, besides putting Superman and Wonder Woman together, it was introducing Jessica Cruz as a Green Lantern. And Simon Baz too, because when you look at Simon Baz's story, because he had an arc in the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, he was great. Like the way he's dealing with, the way they dealt with the whole Muslim thing in that book was significantly better than the way it is in the modern day. And again, they made him like he's still trying to do the right thing, even though the country doesn't like him. Earth 2 run from Tom Taylor's God's Ear. Yes. Oh my gosh, Earth 2 is amazing. Like there are few stories again, this is what I say about Tom Taylor. He's good at other continuity stories. He's fine when it comes to Elseworld storylines. It's just I personally don't like him when he's writing in continuity stuff. But Earth 2 is a perfect example of what he can do when he's doing Elseworlds. Earth 2, Dark Knights of Steel, Injustice, Deceased. He doesn't miss with those. Jessica Cruz, no, she doesn't need her own movie. She doesn't need a movie till we properly roll out Hal and John. That's true. And by the way, Hal and John are going to be in the series. So what they could do, depending on where we start in the DC timeline, because again, he said these are not origin stories for these characters. They already exist. They could have it where Cruz exists, because it is confirmed that we are going to see multiple lanterns in the Green Lantern show. So they could easily say, okay, so have you heard from Lantern Cruz or something like that? We do know that it's going to be a buddy cop movie with Hal and John. So we're getting that. Unfortunately, the Earth 2 led to Convergence, which got blown up twice, in fact. Yeah, I know. The thing about Earth 2, that's an example of when you should let a series end. Because Earth 2 ended, and then we got Convergence, and then they continued it with, I think it was Society, and it wasn't as good. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't nearly as good as the typical, as it was previously. But I still think that I don't know. Earth 2 led to Outworld's End, led to Convergence. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, by the way, I will be on 100% doing a stream on the Earth 2 series of books because those are like out. That's another level, dude. Because when you think about it, how much of a ballsy move is it in your first arc you kill off Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman? Even if it's an Elseworld story, still, how much of a ballsy move is that? And you still do tell fantastic stories with legacy characters. Here's what DC did in that series, which they haven't done now, which is ruining that idea of legacy. They didn't keep around the other characters because I'm of the opinion you can't have two Superman, you can't have two Batman, you can't have two Aquaman. You have one. You can have one retire and then the other one take up the mantle, but that's what you do. Earth 2, Outworld's End is one, and Outworld's End is one seamless story. Sweet. I'll be sure to check that out. And my Sunday stream is named after that story at Week's End. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. I was wondering about that. But again, that is the example of Tom Taylor writing. That's why it's frustrating to me when I read like his. And by the way, Legion says, Earth 2 is actually the Golden Age characters. They just had them come after, which was so smart. Yeah, exactly. And what's cool about that series is that, remember, originally the Golden Age characters were the Earth 2 characters. So they still did that. They still sort of had the Justice Society, but they just called it, I believe they just called it the Society or the New Age of Heroes or anything like that. But they still had those versions of the characters like Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, but they did it in a different way. And by the way, we have someone that finally showed up.
All the hopes and dreams of Krypton live in you now.
Hey, Teladia, what's up, dude?
Hey, sorry about that, guys. I fell asleep. So that
it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. So we were just talking about. So we talked about Bad Blood, but I'll ask you real quick. What did you think about the movie?
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it told a story that, Heretic was involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
The introduction of Heretic. So I was just like, okay, I see where he took inspiration from.
Definitely Grant Morrison. And I said my issue is the way that Talia has a complete heel turn from loving her son and wanting him to live with the father to
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, that's the only issue I had with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. And now apparently we're talking about the Earth 2 comics from the new 52. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Where in the first arc, they literally kill off the Trinity, which was such a great idea. And then John still sucks. That's why John, a camera writer, said John was made by to differentiate from Soups. But there's other ways to differentiate. But here's the problem with that. Yeah, he did that, but he still made him Superman. That's the issue. And then Legion says Alan Scott was a badass. Love the idea of him being a champion of the green. Yeah, that actually works really well. And that's actually in line with when Stan Lee came to DC and wrote the Stan Lee Reimagines, his version of the DC universe. That was the Green Lantern. And John Kent's story is kick-ass. You can say it's bad, but it just shows you're not reading it. I read portions of it and I didn't like it. The portions, let me put it this way, Legion. You could personally enjoy it, but just because other people say it's bad doesn't mean they didn't read it. That's just where I'm going to leave it on that. But so Teladia, let me ask you this: what did you think of the Earth 2 comics? Did you ever hop into those?
I read the first issue of the Earth 2 comics, New 52, when Darkseid was taken over,
and he killed the Trinity.
Yeah, and he killed the Trinity. I did read that issue.
Mm-hmm. And then Legion, it's only 3 issues. Yeah, but if you don't like the 3 issues and say I don't like this, that doesn't mean you're not reading the book. It could be you read it and didn't like it. But anyway, which God Almighty, John aged up is still a bad idea. Yeah, exactly. But
they're not going to de-age him. I'm just telling you that now, Tevia.
They're not going to. And by the way, this is fine because we are discussing like John Kent and all that stuff. So it's not like when Tevye randomly brings it up. So we're all good. And this volume isn't anything like the previous. Taylor's Earth 2 characters are even in it, and they're on the Injustice world. Really? That's interesting. I have to check out that, but I beat that horse to death at this point. Yeah, I like John aged up. It makes him more of a peer to Damian. Well, here's the thing, though. Remember, John was aged up before. I believe Damian was still a kid at one point. It's just that John was older at that point. Well, here's the thing, Legion. See, you're not reading it. I read a couple of issues of the original series and maybe a couple of bits of the current one. It just didn't interest me. I'm just saying I liked him more as a kid because it was a good foil to Damian. Because John's all like innocent and such.
As a kid, like as a kid for John Kent, you'd understand the development of the character, right? But when he's aged up, he's not enjoyable.
Yet another example of when he who must not be named has ruined stuff at DC. I'm just going to put that. Injustice story with John doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Guess what? So a very important part of that is Superman's not a father. A very important part of that is because Superman's kid got killed. However, I do like this. I do like how like, you know, how like my complaint of these series is that they made John Kent too much of a political Superman, right?
Yeah.
But what they're showing in this is that this is the logical like step following John Kent's like political agenda all the way down. This is what eventually leads to. And I'm wondering, are they gonna actually make John Kent a dictator like they're originally supposed to? Which I think that would be cool. And just sort of John doesn't make any sense. Okay, indeed. And plus, it got Super Sons, which was a fantastic series and deserved to move forward. And we're getting a new omnibus of that, which I may or may not pick up. And then it does make sense. Valzad and Red Tornado are multiverse traveling to catch up to Ultraman, who is crossing the multiverse, killing Kalos violently. Yeah, but they just kill off Ultraman like willy-nilly. When they hyped up, this is John Kent getting payback with Ultraman. That is horrible writing. Indeed. Plus, knowing Injustice Superman, I don't see John Kent being able to save him. No. The last arc hit those woke moments. This one seems absent of them. No, but what I'm wondering, Legion, is at the end of this, at the end of his time in the Injustice universe, is this going to like change John and be like, so this is what it eventually leads to? Because you see, Injustice Superman, he shows them, I did everything you want me to do, and look and see, everything's all good, but people are afraid of me. So yeah, it's a convoluted story, so doesn't make sense. Yep, that's just our opinions. But anyway, so Teladia, let's talk a little bit more about Bad Blood.
Bad Blood, yeah.
I did like one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the finale like montage where it shows like the entire Bat family going against those penguin goons, and it's like they're all on that gargoyle looking badass. It's got like Batwing, and again I say that suit up sequence, I'm sorry, they ripped that from Iron Man for Batwing, which in their defense, Batwing is basically Iron Man, but Bat themed. Is about to be the savior of the universe, I bet. I don't see Tom Taylor selling his baby. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying the thing is there, Injustice itself completely died off. Well, yeah, and yeah, we should get back to that. Yeah.
The whole thing, right, about the whole John Kent thing situation that in the Injustice universe is because they're trying to redundant the character. They're trying to basically make the character null void, and he doesn't mean anything.
Well, and I get the thing what they're gonna do is legit just leave him in the Injustice world. And this is in line with what JJheat was saying, is that they're gonna shelve John Kent because they know his series did not sell well, and as far as I know, I have to I don't know if this I don't know off the top of my head the sales of this series right now. But all I know is that it didn't sell well when it was starting. But besides that, but again, back to Bad Blood. I did like again. I like this series. I liked how this series organically established the Bat family, where one by one they're joining. Because at this point, you only have was like Nightwing and Damian, right?
Yes.
And I believe someone said earlier in the stream that okay, here we go. Tim and Jason are more important than Kate and Batman. I don't understand why they didn't use them in this movie. Can you imagine if Red Hood was introduced in this movie?
Yeah.
Or even in the Hush movie, because remember, he did originally show up in Hush. So I mean, that's my chief issue with this movie. Which Fox son is the coolest? Actually, I would have to go with Batwing because they didn't have to make him Batman for him to be cool. And arguably, Jace Fox is not cool. That's why they canceled a series and like shuffled him away. But anyway, going back to this, my issue with this movie is that they had so much potential. They set up so much that they didn't pay off. Or they had the potential, like bringing Jason Todd in there, and they didn't do this. I go with Luke Fox's Batwing. Yes, Jace Fox was a stupid idea. I'm just going with that. Jace Fox is boring and not interesting. And he's not Batman. I'm just going to say that right there. Anyway, so Teladia, do you agree with me that like there was a lot set up in this movie that they could have done more with?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They could have shown more, right?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of build up the Bat family. Like, where's Tim Drake, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think Tim exists as Robin in this universe.
No, he doesn't. But where is he? Like, you get what I mean? It's like,
yeah, they also rushed the Batwoman story, sadly, which is sad because she has so much potential. Yeah, and by the way, she is voiced by, I don't know if you know this, Teladia, by the voice actress who does Miranda in Mass Effect 2 and 3.
yeah.
And by the way, I just want to draw your attention to the way I have posed my Superman and Wonder Woman action figures. I just want to rub that in there.
I saw that in the group DM. So
I just want to further rub that in. So just throwing that in there.
I saw that
again. It's like even at the end of this movie, they introduce Batgirl, and then she shows up briefly in Hush, and then they kill her in Apocalypse War. What a waste of a character!
But seeming as Nick is not here, we can say this: Batman and Batgirl have kissed.
Not in this universe, thank God.
Not in this universe, but in the other universe.
Why did you say that name?
Yeah, this is why I like this universe a lot more than Bruce Timm's universe, because he ruined it with that. Because every time I watch Batman and Batgirl interact in that universe, or like in any movie that he is a part of, it completely grosses me out.
Or Robin and Batgirl.
Robin and Batgirl. Well, yeah, but in this universe, it's Nightwing and
Starfire. Which still makes Nick a little bit angry.
I always bring up so my version of bringing up Wonder Bat is when I bring up how much I like Nightwing and Batgirl together, which really I actually do. But that's besides the point. But I just say it to screw with him. And yeah, same with Connor Kent. This entire universe is wasting characters.
They wasted a lot of potential.
It's like, again, in Hush, they could have brought up Jason Todd, or at least teased him. Or in the post-credit scene of any of the movies featuring the League of Shadows, they could have shown Jason being lowered into the Lazarus Pit. But no, they didn't. So, what'd you think in this movie of the Man-Bat ninjas?
Stupid idea.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid too.
Like seriously, you couldn't think of a better plot point?
Yeah, Bat ninjas. The lead, you're replaced. So let me get this straight. You're dealing with the League of Assassins, and their plan is to turn people into Bat people. You have Batman under your control, and that is your plan.
No.
Didn't Wonder Woman Bloodlines set up a post-credit scene? Yeah, Wonder Woman Bloodlines was the one where I think it no. Actually, it was the reign of the Supermen when they have what's the word? Oh yeah, when they have at the end of it, Superman shows up with the meaning of the Justice League, and then he goes, "We're gonna kill Darkseid," and that leads to the Apocalypse War. But again, they never set up, which did Man Bat Ninjas before in Grant Morrison's Batman and Son of Batman. Yeah, they did it before. I just think Man Bat Ninjas is a really stupid idea. I gotta tell you that it is really dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, real quick, Teladia, while I have you here,
Batman doesn't do ships.
I wanted to do that. I want to do that right now because with the Superman and Lois episode coming out, I may not be able to play that for a week.
Yeah. You might not be able to play that for a week. Tevia, we made a bet. I don't know if you know this.
All right. The bet is if the next episode of Superman and Lois doesn't have any action, then I'm on the side of it will not have any action because most of these Superman's sword is canon again in 2023. What's Superman's sword? But why do the story again in this movie? I don't know. But so the bet is if there's no action in Superman and Lois, Teladia can't play the May the Force Be With You Wonder Bat intro for me.
May the Force be with you, Wonder Bat.
And if I lose, I can't play. And it's for a week. And if I lose, I can't play that Batman doesn't do ships intro for a week. Oh no, I think I have to make an intro that's like I think like a Wonder Bat thing, and I have to put my logo on it.
Yes.
I have to rewatch the Under Two Capes episode that came out today where we talked about that. But yeah. So that's where I'm at. So I could have to make a new intro about Teladia. Yours will be done soon.
Okay.
Do you still want it to say "Welcome to Teladia Plays" and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So all right, good. And then do you have any like footage of you reacting to Spider-Man stuff that I can put in there?
I've got the latest reaction video.
Cool. DM that to me, and then I'll include full footage of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it sounds fun. That's the way we do bets in Comics League. We do bets with punishments. That's what it is. The key is to not get punished. But on that note, I think that's a good place to leave it. But who is the best candidate for Wonder Woman's boyfriends other than Steve, Soups, Batty? Other than those three, Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Cyborg, as someone tries to put Wonderborg. I still don't get. Can we all agree that Wonderborg is just a bad idea? Or there's Aquaman, because here's the thing: Aquaman and her can bond about being royalty and having to live in two worlds.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman. There is a ship of Aquaman and Wonder Woman. And
that's what I can get behind. Besides Superman and Wonder Woman, I can get behind that one. We had that in Flashpoint, and it didn't end well. But that was again beyond their control. But the point is, I could see those two working well, and because they both understand like the royalty and having to balance responsibilities.
Yeah. But before we end, right? Do you mind if I say something real quick before we?
Is it gonna be a Wonder Bat thing?
No.
All right, go ahead.
I just recently did a live stream with Mad Max, and you guys got to check it out.
I love Max. He's a really cool guy.
We did a really cool. I did a really cool interview with him, and it was very interesting, very intriguing to find out his backstory about him starting off on his YouTube career. We talked about DC, we talked about Marvel, we talked about gaming, we talked about a lot of topics. And you guys got to answer questions. You guys got questions in the chat, which were answered. So it will be on the replay. So if you guys have got any questions for him, and I'll be sure to ask him those questions, or I'll pass it on to Jared, and Jared will ask those questions for you on your behalf.
Yeah, because we all follow each other. I've been on his channel a lot. He's been on. He was on my channel once, but I got to have him back on.
Yeah.
So, but he's a really good dude, despite what some people on the internet are saying. because
Yeah.
some people, I'm not going to name anyone, but some people take the whole Snyder versus Gunn thing a little too seriously to the point where they're like disowning people. But that's besides the point.
So on that note, we're gonna end it here. Make
Yeah.
sure you do leave
So
a like. Make sure you do leave a like.
wait, I'm not done
Wait,
yet.
wait, wait,
I'm
wait, wait,
not done
wait,
yet.
wait, 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 I gotta say something.
All right.
Make sure you do leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts
Mhm.
on Bad Blood,
Yeah.
because we want to hear your thoughts on the film and what do you guys think about the plot points, the enemies, the man bat, and we want to hear that stuff because
And if
your
you want,
feedback.
next movie night, I'm going to start this. If you leave a comment on your thoughts, next movie night, I will read them live on air.
Yes.
That's gonna be a new thing. So if you guys leave a comment with your thoughts, like the video and all that stuff, I will read your. We'll have a segment of the show where we read thoughts on the previous movie that we watch.
Yes.
So Teladia, where can one find you, and what else do you have coming out on your channel?
So you can follow me Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch at Teladia Plays. I will be posting up my Marvel Spider-Man 2, what other villains and Spider-Man skins we want in the game, with featuring Doomkiller HD. I'm just editing that up right now. I'm currently in the process of just getting pictures together, mashing them into a video, and also, guys, yeah, make sure you do subscribe. I reached 330 subs there, so that's a big bonus for
Nice.
me. So, and on that note, make sure may the force be with you.
No, we're not done yet. On Comics League, on Monday, I'm debating whether I should still do the stream talking about the short video talking about how to get into the comics hobby, because I was thinking we could do a group a discussion of the Spider-Verse movie. No, it's a spoiler like review of the the Spider-Verse movie, if you guys are watching. And by the way, Teladia, when you were watching that movie, how were you watching it and essentially going, I want that skin, I want that skin, I want that skin, I want that skin?
No.
Really?
Sorry, I mind blank there. Sorry, what were we saying?
I mean, you saw Spider-Verse 2, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
When you were watching that movie, because I don't know about you, but I was watching it going, I want that skin, I want that skin, I want that skin.
Oh,
I want that skin.
yeah, definitely. I want
Particularly all the suits that were black suits. I was like, yeah, please, this. You know they're gonna have the Spider-Verse 2 Miles skin in the Miles game, and then available to play in Spider-Man 2. You know that, right?
Not in Miles Morales. I don't think it'll be in Miles Morales. I think it'll just be in Marvel Spider-Man 2 because that's coming out at the end of the year. So, if you guys haven't,
if you want to join us, you're more than welcome to.
If you guys haven't checked out the movie, I would recommend checking it out. It's definitely a one to watch. The only disappointment I'll say about this film is the soundtrack.
Really?
Yes.
It wasn't as good as the last one, I don't think.
No, that's the only disappointment I have with this film, was the soundtrack, because it had sunflower.
What did you think of they brought in these spoiler alert, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They brought in the old animated Spider-Man from the 60s, and he goes Spider-Man. And they actually played the old theme song for Spider-Man, and it's like a really not advanced 2D animation of him.
Yeah, but there is some Easter eggs, including one that you guys might not see. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment. So you guys have to check it out.
Well, we'll check it out. We may end up doing a review stream, maybe Monday afternoon, talking about it.
Yeah, so on that note.
So on that note, we'll call it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay
What about
Bye-bye.
forever?
Batman doesn't do ships.